Task 2 overview. The artifacts that candidates will submit for Task 2 are teaching video and instruction commentary. Remember, Task 2 is all about the candidates teaching in the classroom. If you are a clinical educator at the secondary level, then you teach multiple classrooms each day. When your candidate arrives at your school, they will need to choose their EdTPA classroom before they begin planning their EdTPA lessons. Special note: EdTPA allows candidates the freedom of choosing a small group within a classroom if desired. If a small group is chosen as the EdTPA classroom, the group must consist of at least 4 students. Those 4 students count as whole class for the EdTPA lessons. Video requirements for EdTPA. Clinical residency candidates often overlook the specific video requirements for EdTPA. Task 2 video requirements differ for each subject area in the following ways. First, the number of videos required might be different. Some subject areas require 2 videos of teaching. Others require only 1 video of teaching. Also, there are different subject-specific requirements. Since each EdTPA content area differs in what students will learn in that content area, it is only logical that the video content requirement is different for each subject area. Most importantly, candidates must check the handbook for requirements before videoing. The next 3 slides provide several examples of video requirements. In each example, the video requirements are taken from the EdTPA handbook for that subject area. Please take a minute to read the early childhood example. So, as you can notice, the 2 video clips cannot total over more than 15 minutes, and they can't be less than 3 minutes total for 2 clips. And then you've got your subject-specific focus for early childhood, which is active multimodal learning, language and literacy learning in an interdisciplinary context. Then you've got your 2 requirements for Clip 1. Clip 1 for early childhood should be whole class, even if whole class is just 4 children. Clip 2 should show small group interaction or interaction with an individual. Here's an ag science example. Please carefully read this. So I'm sure you can see some differences between ag science and early childhood. Ag science has 2 required clips, but they need to be 10 minutes each or less. So ag science could have a total of 20 minutes of video, whereas early childhood can have only 15 minutes. Then you've got your first clip requirement, which is developing students' understanding of ag concepts. But your second clip, very important, and students overlook this, should illustrate how you used representations or realia to deepen student understanding of ag-related concepts and procedures. Realia is real-life examples. So if you're teaching about cattle for ag science, you would need to show yourself in the video using real-life examples and representations. This is very important. Also, the video clips can feature either whole class or a targeted group of students. All right, here's the PE example. Take a few seconds to read this one. So if you notice the 1 to 2 clips, so the PE only has to have 1 clip really. They could include 2, but if it says 1 to 2, it's fine to do just 1. It doesn't help your score to do another video unless there's something in a second video that you need to cite that's important. So you see the PE focus is totally different from the other subject areas, psychomotor, cognitive, and affective domains. And then they have to show themselves not only engaging students in a video, but also active monitoring of students. And they have to show how they use rules, routines, and transitions to maximize engagement in the lesson. This makes sense because it's physical education. You want your students to be constantly engaged, not waiting to take part in some activity, but everyone should be actively involved. And this takes a lot of planning, routines, and careful transitions. Here's a math example. Math requires 1 to 2 clips, and they can total no more than 15 minutes. And of course, math, the focus is about conceptual understanding, procedural fluency, and mathematical reasoning and or problem-solving skills. Here's a chart that compares each of those subject areas we looked at. As you can see how different these 4 subject areas are, not only in number of videos, but the video time limit, but also the video focus. Okay, let's look at Task 2 rubrics 6 through 10. All Task 2 instruction rubrics are primarily scored according to what is cited in the video clips. Even if candidates describe something they did in their teaching, it is not valid unless the scorer sees it in the video. In other words, if a candidate answers a question in the commentary and explains that they did something that was asked in the commentary writing, but it's not in the video and they can't cite a video clip, then it is not valid to the score. It does no good. Hopefully you can see how unfortunate it is for a candidate to video their entire learning segment and then realize they did not pay attention to the specific video requirements for their subject area. It can negatively affect scores for Task 2, which actually could cause them to fail the portfolio. Rubric 6. The key concept is positive learning environment. The candidate's interactions with the students are respectful, and students communicate easily with the candidate. So not only, there should be mutual respect between candidates and students, but notice that the candidate in the videos must treat the students respectfully. They need to facilitate a learning environment where students are willing and comfortable enough to offer opinions and responses. And there should be evidence of mutual respect among students. So the students respect each other, the candidate respects the students, and the student respects the candidate. Rubric 7, key concept, engaging students in learning. According to ETPA, engagement occurs when the teacher is using strategies that promote active involvement in activities. This increases the student's knowledge, skills, and abilities related to the central focus. We want students to not just participate in class, but to be actively learning. The video should provide evidence that students are engaged in meaningful tasks and discussions related to the central focus. Rubric 8, key concept is enhancing student learning. Unfortunately, Rubric 8 is one of the lowest scored rubrics. In Rubric 8, the candidate must bring forth and build upon student responses to enhance learning in the classroom. For Rubric 8, the focus is not necessarily on the candidate's teaching, but on how the candidate can get the students in active discussion about the central focus. Engaging students in conversations is the most important thing, and you want to try to get them to use higher order thinking. That's your main goal. This can occur in individual responses, small group activities, and whole class activities. The problem with this is, and the reason it's lowly scored, is that the candidate is nervous about the teaching video, and they're trying to do their best with teaching. Then if a student raises their hand to ask a question, the candidate only spends a few seconds to quickly answer so that they can get back into their teaching zone and keep teaching. What really should happen with Rubric 8 is if a candidate raises their hands while if a student raises their hands while a candidate is teaching, then they should answer their question and try to open up more discussion or draw the student out. Or if a student asks a question that the candidate asked, then maybe the candidate should follow up and ask why they answered that way. This is a higher order thinking challenge for a student. And if we do this often enough, it can open the class up and help the students to start thinking for themselves. Rubric 9 is subject specific. This rubric is different for every subject area. I've not included all subject areas here, but you can see a few of them. For secondary English, in Rubric 9, the candidate must use textual references to help students understand how to construct meaning from, interpret, or respond to a complex text. That has to be in the video. Science is all about facilitating analysis of evidence or data. Elementary Ed is how do they help their students learn, practice, and apply an essential literacy strategy. Ag Science, we've already gone over this, representations and realia. Early Childhood is interdisciplinary. What I have told candidates, they sometimes forget this, but I've told them, Rubric 9 is important. You need to make sure every one of your lessons for EdTPA includes this. That way you have freedom when you're choosing your video. Most of our students are trained well to teach in a positive learning environment and to engage students in learning. But this rubric and Rubric 8 really have to be thought about in advance. And it needs to happen in every teaching video so that the student has plenty of video to choose from when they're only able to choose maybe 2 10-minute clips. So they want to be able to have all of this in their video so that they can cite timestamps in their writing. Finally, Rubric 10, Analyzing Teaching Effectiveness. In the commentary writing, the student is asked, if you could teach this content over again, what would you do differently? Across the board, our students want to talk about classroom management or pacing. If they do this, if they focus on themselves and how they taught and how they organized their class and say that maybe I should have gone faster or maybe I should have gone slower, that is about the teacher, and they will make a 2 instead of a 3, 4, or 5 on that rubric. We don't want them to make many 2s because a 3 is actually a score that would describe a beginning teacher who is ready to teach. A 4 is even better, and a 5 is exemplary. We don't see many 5s, but we don't want them to answer this question by thinking about pacing or classroom management. They need to look at the clips and say, well, I noticed in lesson 1 my students were not totally grasping the central focus. If I could do lesson 1 over again, according to this research and theory, I should do this because this theory says that students learn better if we do so and so. So whatever they answer in this, they need to cite the video and then come up with something related to the central focus that they could teach differently so that students could learn more. This is very important. Please make sure your candidate videos every Ed2PA lesson. Please make sure your candidate does not delete video. Occasionally, candidates don't feel good about how the video turned out, so they delete it. Let's think about it. None of us like to see ourselves on video. We're hard on ourselves. We cringe when we watch ourselves. So we delete those videos when we don't like them. Please get them to not do that. Because when they try to complete the commentary writing, they might realize they deleted something important, such as just 3 minutes of something that they were doing that might be a good citation for Rubric 8 or Rubric 9. Remember, a video might not have gone well, but if there is 3 minutes of something really good, it is worth saving. I have had students over and over every semester say, I deleted lesson 2. I wish I hadn't. This concludes Task 2 overview.